Doo-doo-dee. It's Nandi!
Hello friends, welcome back. Today we're covering the April patch. I won't go through every single line of the patch notes, but I will highlight the important stuff, give you some thoughts, and flag things that actually matter. A quick thank you to my Patreons and YouTube members. Your support genuinely helps keep things going. For the rest of you, here is a small code as thank you. Let's get into it. Let's start with a broad overview of what this season contains. We have yet another survival event this patch with Abraxas as our protagonist. The new character this patch is Havyr, the Cthonian Beserk of the Leagues of Votann faction. While I wouldn't quite call them full reworks, 3 Necron characters have had their stats and numbers tweaked and buffed. The Machine of War Incursions have been updated to include a Mythic 2 track. The big quality of life improvement is that unit filtering has been added to all game modes. The Battlepass character this season will be for Darkstrider, and the legendary release event will be the final run of Trajann. Speaking of Trajann, there is a new legendary event offer that they've mentioned. Beyond that, we have the usual slew of home screen events, quests, blessed requisitions, and tournament arenas, as well as some shop changes. I think this is one of the slimmer patches in recent memory. In terms of notable absences, there are no new relics, machines of war, or campaign events. This patch we have an Abraxas Survival running from April 19th to 25th. The protagonist is Abraxas, and we can bring Chaos allies and Machines of War as allies as we fight against a coalition of Imperial forces. If I have my act together, I should have a survival showcase going out roughly the same time as this video, so make sure you check it out for some tips and insights. The only new character this patch is Havyr, the Leagues of Votann Cthonian Beserk. He unlocks via 2-week hero release event starting on April 26th. If you're here for the 15-second summary, Havyr is a melee bruiser. His active ability reduces the enemy armor for the remainder of the battle and does some damage. His passive either suppresses the enemy or lets him trigger an extra bit of damage if the enemy is under 50% health. He is likely to be a reasonably straightforward melee unit for the faction and has a PvP focus. He has some consideration in guild raid due to the extra attack and his crushing strike trait. I should have a dedicated character showcase out for your perusal on my channel by now. The big character changes this patch are for the Necrons. 3 have been buffed: Aleph Null, Immaspec, and Thutmose. The Aleph Null buff is the most straightforward, a health increase of 20%. Trajann, Tacticus Ambassador and Friend is to thank for running the numbers. You can see Aleph's radar chart now and how the health stat has been improved through the blue outline. Beyond the improved health number, it also makes Aleph Null better since the Necron faction trait now also restores more health. Also remember that health and armor power-ups are based on the unit's base health, so again a further buff. All of Immaspec's stats have also been increased, once more reflected by the blue outline on the radar chart. I so rarely use Immaspec that I didn't even realize that his passive added damage. Now that passive damage has been buffed, and the bonus damage number is the same as Eldrion's at comparable ability levels. It also applies to all of Immaspec's attacks rather than just the ranged one. It is a reasonable buff. He doesn't become a character killer like Rayvas's Overwatch does, but this improves Immaspec's LRE potential significantly. I have the before and after abilities on screen for you to compare. Thutmose has had the biggest glow up. Damage and armor have increased, but health stays the same. Both active and passive abilities have been buffed significantly with better numbers. The active ability can affect more enemies, up from a maximum of 3 to 5. The damage has been increased and the ability can be affected by modifiers. In other words, it can be buffed and it can crit. Trajann, Tacticus Ambassador and Friend has plotted that damage against characters in the game at their base health, as well as with the 60% health buff from War. The graph isn't spectacular, but the takeaway is that this is direct damage, so 100% pierce. Therefore, even the slightest damage buffs will be reflected much more impressively. Also, remember that if equipped with a particle caster, Thutmose has a 95% chance of critting at least once the turn he uses his active on 5 enemies. The passive has also been buffed. The damage is increased by around 74% on average and can affect an enemy at range 2 rather than just an adjacent one. Again, this can be buffed and as a reminder it is direct damage. Sadly, it is now a ranged attack, otherwise it would have been busted with a melee hits power-up. I thought I would grade the 3 Necrons now via the 3 metrics I use in my character showcase. Aleph Null hasn't changed a huge amount and just become tankier. That makes her better for Horde modes where she was already impressive. Immaspec's stock has risen primarily in Horde modes too, and I think 6 Overwatch hits with decent damage is appealing in LRE and Survival. He now has a bit more survivability to make him more interesting. Thutmose is still a glass cannon. Remember that his health stat was untouched. The direct damage and ability buffs can make him pretty scary with things like high ground in the right setups. I don't like fragile characters in general though, so I have scored accordingly. The main update to Machines of War this patch has been the addition of an extra tier to the Incursions for Machines of War. You fight harder enemies, and as I am cycling through them on screen, you also get more rewards. Also, the Malleus machine, which previously had the old progression system, has been updated to the more modern branching one. A much requested quality of life feature has been rolled out in the form of the unit filter. We had it for our roster screen, but can now apply it when we are fighting in game modes, which should make things like war much easier. Snowprint, if you're watching, I'd love the ability to load pre-made teams into different game modes next. There are no new relics this patch. The Rogue Trader Shop rotation is, however, updated, and the Phoenix Gem, Ithana's relic, now replaces the Norn Crown in the relic cycle on the Tuesday and Saturday slot. I like sharing this slide, which just lets me keep track of the unique and shared relics in the game. The Battle Pass this patch is for Dark Strider of the Great and Good Tau faction. The LRE this time is the final one for Trajann. I don't normally point out offers, but there is a new one that they are rolling out for LREs, and you can see that there appear to be different price points, perhaps related to account size or age. Basically, each LRE track has 5 objectives and 18 levels. 3 tracks gives you 324 objectives as reflected in the tooltip. Then you get a daily payout based on your overall progress, and your daily payout should increase over time. Now, I know money is tight for us these days, but I think this offer will sell well, especially for more important LRE characters like Trajann and Farsight. There is the usual slew of other stuff. We have 2 character quests this patch. Amok fights alongside the Ultramarines and Admex on April 29th against the Tyranids. Then on May 20th, Volk fights with the Chaos as allies against the Dark Angels. There are 2 tournament arenas this patch. Both are at legendary difficulty, and the second is Faction Wars. The Leagues of Votann are playable with Cygex subbing into the team as their 5th character, and there are a load of balance changes in the form of strategic reserves. On this slide I have detailed those changes. Perhaps the most important, to me, to highlight are the Barb Gaunts for the Tyranids, which I think are probably the strongest NPCs in the game. Another potentially dangerous one is the Battle Sisters, since they also have the Act of Faith faction trait and could do a lot of damage if ignored. I thought people might find it interesting to know which factions are currently doing well based on the top 25 leaderboard. The data is incomplete as not everyone could be found on Discord, but this is how the last season shaped up. Credit to Prime Marcus on the official Discord for doing the legwork. There are 5 different Blessed Requisition banners this patch, each one giving you an opportunity to earn different characters. I'm not sure I'm super excited about any of them, but they are on screen at the moment in case any interest you. There are 5 home screen events this patch. Against the Tide runs from April 19th to 25th. You get points for defeating enemy waves in wave-based modes. Your rewards are random character shards and currency for the Abraxas Survival event. Warpforge is another returning HSE from April 28th to 30th. Chaos units have a bonus to their stats and earn more experience. You get HSE points for defeating Chaos enemies in game modes, and you are rewarded with equipment. Remember that there are random daemons running around in Arena too. Machine Hunt is also a returning HSE from May 3rd to 6th. You get points for defeating mechanical enemies, and your reward is salvage. Training Rush is also back from May 10th to 13th. We seem to get one of these every patch. You get points for defeating enemies, and the rewards are books and gold. Your characters also have a nice boost to XP during the event. The final HSEs run concurrently for the Emperor and for the Dark Gods. Again, we've seen these before. You score on the Chaos track by killing Imperials and Xenos with your Chaos units, and the same principle for the Imperial track. Rewards are badges and orbs for the side you pick. Hopefully they add a similar Xenos home screen event in the future. There are some other things and bug fixes in the notes, and I would encourage you to check out the full patch notes. The main thing I've highlighted here is the Magnus tooltip thing, which is a nice quality of life benefit. That's all I've got. Thanks as always to my Patreons and YouTube members for their support, and bye for now.